Welcome to Broad Street Phanatics, episode number 26. We are here with Matt Vensel, and he is going to talk to us about the Penguins side of things. And we are happy to have him.
Happy to be on with you.
Yep. What are your thoughts on this upcoming game tonight?
Well, it's always a fun one when the Penguins play the Flyers. I know the Flyers have had some guys in and out of the COVID protocol. The Penguins are just basically have gotten everyone back for the most part from that, as every team deals with that seemingly. But I think it'll be a good game regardless. I mean, what's not to like about Sidney Crosby going up against the Flyers? It should be a fun one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
There's been some COVID situations happening with the Flyers. I think I can read the list to you guys. So it's Xar Giroux, Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim, Adrian Prorov, Jackson Cates, Nick Seedor, and the Flyers have 10 players out. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this game still is on or not. But I'm not hopeful that it will be played tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if they were going to postpone it, they probably would have done it by now. I do know the Flyers were supposed to have a morning skate today, so we'll see what happens here. But I think the league is just, for the most part, just trying to plow ahead through this, especially now with so many guys coming back quickly because the isolation period has been cut down to 5 days. I mean, I know the Penguins a week ago had 8 players in, and now all 8 of those guys are back, including your old friend Jeff Carter. So at least as far as the Penguins go, it feels like, as soon as one guy goes on the COVID list, they're getting another couple back. And that's just kind of the nature of the particular variant right now.
Yeah. If the Flyers have any chance of winning this game, what do you think the Flyers have to do?
Well, they'll need to get good goaltending. That's always a good start. One thing they have in their favor, even though they have a bunch of guys out, is the Penguins played a very emotional game in Pittsburgh Wednesday night. They got down by 2 goals to the Blues. They made a goalie change and came back to win. So it was an emotional, hard-fought game. Then they had to hop on a plane and fly across the state. So that's one thing in their advantage for the Flyers, that they're rested. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just the Penguins have a lot going for them. Obviously, they've won 9 games in a row. They're scoring a lot of goals. They've gotten good goaltending from Jari. Special teams have been good. So they got a lot of things clicking. But, if the Flyers are able to get good goaltending and maybe make this a 3-2 game, anytime it's a division game like this, you're going to have a chance.
Is there any specific injuries on the Penguin side?
They are they're kind of coming out of the tunnel here. I mean, they've dealt with injuries all year, including both Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin starting the season on injured reserve because they had surgery. So Malkin's the big one. He's not going to play Thursday night, but this is the start of a 6-game road trip for the Penguins, and he said the other day that he was targeting a return at some point during this trip. We'll see if that happens. So he's the big one. Getting him back, obviously, could be a big boost for the Penguins. And the only other major injury, and it's not even really super major, is Jason Zucker is sidelined, their winger. I mean, he's been mostly a disappointment with the Penguins, but he's still a guy that played on their second line and on their second power play. So not a huge loss there, but still plays a pretty important role for them.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about the Penguins' 9-game winning streak?
Well, for most of the season, I mean, they were really inconsistent. I think there had only been 2 instances before the streak where they won multiple games in a row. I mean, they would win a game, they would lose a game, they would win a game, lose one in overtime, and it just kind of seemed to have a hard time getting traction. And then they got, they had a wave of guys who got COVID in the fall, including Sidney Crosby and 3 of their defensemen. And it seems like once they got those guys back, they started getting on a roll. Now, they've beaten some bad teams in that stretch, which, they still count as wins, but, they beat Seattle, they beat Buffalo, they beat Montreal. But, this St. Louis game Wednesday night was arguably the biggest win over that stretch. So, yeah, I'm curious to see, I'm still obviously the Penguins are a good team. They are pretty comfortably in playoff position as we reach the mid-season point. I'm just not sure how good this team is or will be. They're obviously one of the league's top 12 teams or so, but I don't know if they're in that upper echelon of contenders. And I think we're going to see more going forward. But it seems like every year they have a run like this where they're kind of scuffling for a bit, and then they string together 7-8 wins, and that's ultimately the difference in them, finishing high up in the division every year.
What is your score prediction for tonight's game?
Oh man, we'll say 5-2 Penguins, but with a couple of empty netters. I mean, I do think it's going to be a competitive game. I'm curious to see what the Penguins do in goal, because they started their backup Casey DeSmith Wednesday night with the plan of playing Tristan Jarry tonight, and then they had to yank Casey DeSmith during that game. So goaltending is a little bit, I wouldn't say a question mark, but it's going to be something to watch for the Penguins, just given that. But yeah, I think the Penguins, with the way they're rolling right now, and all the guys you just listed as being out, you would have to think the Penguins would win. But it's the NHL, and all it takes is a couple bounces, and things can go the other way.
So, Cameron, you want to do the last question?
Yeah, my last question is, what do you think the Flyers are going to do in the next 4 games against the Sharks, the Hurricanes, the Bruins, and the Rangers?
That's a tough stretch, especially with their shorthanded. Carolina, I mean, they were my pick to win the Metro entering the season, and they've made me look smart for once. They're a really tough team. Boston is starting to get something going too. Obviously, the Penguins are on a roll, so it's going to be a tough stretch for the Flyers. I mean, I'm curious. I mean, what do you guys think of the Flyers? I mean, I had them being, I'm pretty sure I had them being a playoff team, or maybe I had them, just outside of the picture at 5th place. But I expected them to bounce back this year, and they've had a hard time getting it going.
Yeah, I think they need to they need something to pick them up. I think think they can do it, but because we've seen some good games from the Flyers where they've, crushed some, maybe not crushed, but beaten some pretty good teams. Alex, what do you think?
I think that they need to continue having more power plays throughout the game, because they've been having trouble getting open shots during the regular time. And I think that a lot of the team has to get comfortable doing it.
Well, if any team could, every year you see a team that is kind of being counted out at the midway point or a third of the way through, like we are now, and they go on a run and get in. I mean, heck, look at the St. Louis Blues 3 years ago. So, I wouldn't entirely count out the Flyers at this point, nor would I the Islanders, another team that's kind of disappointed in the Metro this year.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming on, and we are excited to see what the outcome is.
Thanks for having me. Happy to come on.
Yep, thanks.